Should be live anyway. We're live now. There we go. We're live now.
It says live.
It says live. It says live. We are live. Hi, everyone. Hello, folks. This is the Grey Man here, and I'm joined by silver-haired, Bronze-Age babe, sometimes referred to as Sh-bab.
And thank God you came up with that name, Grey Man, because like I've said before, if I could do anything differently on my YouTube channel, I would have changed. I wouldn't have done this name because I had absolutely no idea anyone would have to say it or want to say it out loud. So sorry, but thank God you're around to fix that for me.
It certainly caught on, didn't it? The Sh-bab line.
It did.
It
did. Well, it wouldn't be a live stream with me if I didn't have a cocktail. Now, Graham is like saying no to this because it's late at night for him, but it's cocktail hour for me.
No beers with me tonight. I should have remembered from your other streams that I've seen you do. You always have a cocktail. I should have thought and went out and bought myself a bottle of something tasty.
Excellent.
Yeah, never mind. All right, so we're going to talk about some of your comic memories. Some of you,
and I've got several. Yeah.
Hopefully you picked the 5 best ones to share with us today.
Well, I have to start with the first. I can't tell you what my first book was, but I can show you what my first pile was.
All right, I'll put you on screen.
Make me big.
Yeah.
Because this is a pile of books that...
And those are the very books, are they? The very books that you first got?
These are the ones. And they were hand-me-overs from a family friend back in the early 70s. I think I would have started pawing through these in 1971 or 72 when I was 10 or 11 years old. And the thing is, we have, my family had a summer cottage up in northern Michigan where you'd go to in the summer, and there's a lake. And now, but there wasn't that, it's not, we didn't have much reading material. So obviously someone, took pity on little 10-year-old Sh-bab and said, well, here, why don't you take these? The kids at our cottage don't want them anymore. And,
had you seen comics before that point? Had you seen comics before?
Not that I know of. I did remember seeing the Batman TV show in America, with the cartoon. And
classic.
Total classic, but I was just a scooch too young to kind of get the campy vibe of it.
Oh, I never got the campy vibe at all at that age. I was dead serious. I like to watch it every weekend. And when I saw it again as a teenager, and I saw all the campiness, I was like, that's not how it used to be. I'm sure this is a different program to what I used to watch. And I remember watching the film. I remember the film was coming on. I was like, the Batman film. I remember this when I was a kid. It's awesome. And when I saw the rubber shark, and it was meant to be a real shark, not a rubber shark, I was like, what? I was just I can't believe it. This is. But then I watched it again, like another 20 years later on, and I appreciated it a lot more for rather than an angsty teenage way. I appreciated it in an older person, appreciating the silliness of it kind of way, and like it was good again.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, all I knew, it had bright colors. It had, you know what I mean?
Pow!
So I knew of Batman. And I guess I twigged that there were comics involved. But it wasn't until getting this pile, and there's one in particular that if I could pick one out of the pile that made the biggest impression, it was this one.
Oh, coverless.
Which is actually that.
I see. Right.
So this is a coverless wonder of Brave and Bold, number 82. And I did go back and I, in later years, finally I wonder what the cover looks like. So I finally, actually bought a copy of it.
I think I saw the Lois Lane one there as well, when you were showing a little bit Lois Lane being carried over the threshold of the execution chamber, wasn't it?
Yes. Oh my God.
I saw that.
It's tough for me to pick a favorite out of this pile.
Yeah.
Because
it's a great cover.
And it's so iconic, and it's the introduction of the Rose and Thorn.
That's right. It's the first appearance, isn't it? I think.
Absolutely. I think there's been some specking going on this book. I think because the Rose and Thorn are in the Legion of I don't know what. Anyway.
Okay, yeah, because I got that recently. Because I've recently discovered Jimmy's and Lois's, and I've been buying them up hand over fist when I can.
Right.
And I saw that I bought that one for, I don't know, not that expensive. Then I went on one of the comic websites, and it's like massive price for it, and I was like, I just bought that. I didn't pay that kind of money for it, and I was kind of like, so it must be why, because it must be the fact that, like you say, some speculation. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's this. Listen. You hang around long enough, things will get famous, I guess.
Yeah, things will be worth money.
Exactly. So Apex Comics, hello, nice to see you.
I feel that I should be worth loads now, like just because I've been getting on a bit, you know. I feel like I've been around long enough now. I should be worth lots of money.
Yeah, that's it. It's our sage and our wisdom, is so worth it. So yeah, it's hard to pick a favorite, but the thing about having comics at that age in this cottage environment, it's like I read them a lot because it was the only reading material I think I really had. And if it rained up at your summer cottage, there's nothing to do. So all the stories imprinted on me like you wouldn't believe, the stories and the art and all of that. So I was like, well,
You did a video on that one, didn't you? Is that the one you did a video on? I'm sure there was something about it. I can't remember what it was now. Was it some weird, strange appearance or something like that in there?
Somebody wanted to know if there was a Batman story where Batman's underwater. It's like, well, he's kind of underwater in this one.
Oh, yeah.
So, and what I didn't realize until years later was that one of the reasons I was so entranced with the story art in here is because Neil Adams did it.
Right.
And he also did, I think covers, or he did this is another book that was in that pile. And this actually had a cover on it. And this is a Neil Adams cover.
Right.
You know what I mean? So
cool.
It was interesting to review, go back and see what really, snagged me.
Yeah. Did you know at the time about the art? Because I remember I was a kid and reading comics. I never bothered. I didn't care who was doing the art. I just wanted to read the stories. No. I didn't think about it. But it's only later that I find out, this is Jim Aparo. Yeah, I liked all his stuff. I remember reading his stuff before. And I was so terrible. And I was kind of in my own bubble. I never my friends didn't read comic books. So I never had any conversations about comic book characters and artists and stuff like that. So I never really sort of thought about that kind of thing.
Well, it's interesting you mentioned that because the... can I show you? It leads into my second book.
Oh yeah, I'll put you on full screen. Let me just get rid of this chat and put you on the full screen.
So here's another coverless wonder. Oh my god! But so this is a Brave and Bold, the Super DC Giant Brave and Bold, and I bought a copy. A hardback copy. That was what the cover looked like.
What number is that one?
S16.
Oh, it's one of those, not part of the Brave and the Bold. It's an extra size one. Yeah.
No, but they reprint some Silver Age stories in here.
Yeah.
And so the Flash Batman one, love it. I just I could just pour into that story.
Is that the one where he's dying if he uses his super speed or something like that? Is that? Yeah, yep. I forgot. Because when I started, because I stopped comics in 2013 because it was just too expensive. When I came back in 2018, I started making videos foolishly, found loads of other people making videos, and I was like, oh, look at all these lovely comics and remembering all what I loved about comic books. And that's when I started buying old ones.
Oh, cool. Good for you.
Yeah. Brave and the Bold was the first run that I tried. I got only 100 to 200 because I remember a couple of my early ones were like Brave and the Bold. And I always loved just the concept of the Brave and the Bold. And it kind of looking back, I always thought I had more of them. I know when I actually come to look at it, I goes, I only had 3. Why am I so keen on the Brave and the Bold? I think it's such a good title. And I only actually had about 3 or 4 back in the day when I was buying as a kid. But I suppose because they were the early ones that I bought.
Well, the best thing about the Brave and the Bold is Bob Haney, who did most of the writing on the late Silver and Bronze Age stuff. I think he was a good writer. He was able to take, and plus you got 2 heroes for your 25 cents. So you got Batman and someone else. Yeah. And I always thought his stories he really meshed, characters who sometimes shouldn't be with Batman. Did well. So yeah.
Particularly Sergeant Rock, who somehow had never aged since the war.
I know. One of my favorites is that Sergeant Rock, where he and Batman are going after an old Nazi. I mean, it Really great stuff.
What about the one where Jim Aparo is actually in the comic book, and the cover of him, he's like drawing like the picture, and they're holding a gun on him, saying, "I was like, wow, that's some kind of full breaking weirdness going on in that one."
Exactly. Well, this book actually, again, it was in the pile, and I have to show you my cover. Look how stained it is. I mean, that's just sweet comic book goodness, isn't it?
Did you have a Tootsie Roll in one hand and the comic book in the other hand? Is that why
Probably. So this book, I did a video of it on my YouTube channel. And it's called The Girl on the Bus. I was sent on a cross-state bus trip when I was like 11 or 12 to go see my grandmother and my cousins. And those were in the days when you could actually put a really unsophisticated 11 or 12-year-old on a bus and, actually see her at the end of the trip. Yeah. But it was scary for this little kid. But I made sure, because I just didn't even have to be told, bring something to read. I was like, I'm bringing my comic, because this was a big issue. It had 2 long stories in it. And it was the big comfort blanket that this scared little kid needed to have to, kind of make that journey, for 2.5 hours on a Greyhound bus. So this actual book is so special to me. And I got to tell you, Greyman, when I got back into collecting, you come in and out of collecting, over the decades. And several years ago, when I got back in again, I was like, God, that Batman Flash one with Metamorpho in it, I couldn't remember what book it was. Like, is it World's Finest or, and I couldn't find this copy. So I was kind of bereft. It's like, wow. And I literally ended up, I found it at the bottom of a toy bin that I had must have put together for my niece or nephew or something. And when I pulled this thing out, it was like old home week. I was so happy I almost started to cry. It's like, it's back. I have it. It's here.
I had a similar thing to that recently. I've been chatting on like comic memories. I can't remember. I was chatting to comic memories, and I was remembering the first time I read the Sinister Six fight in Spider-Man, and it was like a UK reprint of like the first Amazing Spider-Man Annual #1 or something like that. Mm-hmm. And I remember reading it as a kid. I remember having it on holiday. I went on Mallorca or something on holiday, and I remember reading it. I remember it had a yellow cover. And I wonder whatever happened to that. And I happened to be going through some books, and I found it, and I was like, oh man, I was cuddling it. Exactly. Oh, and it's all it's seen better days, but it was just a joy to actually find it again. It's like I remember I read that so many times.
That's the thing about comic books, I think, in particular, because there's a certain tactile, there's a feeling they feel like nothing else. They smell like nothing else, and it's so imprinted on you in childhood. You know what I mean? It's like the connection that you have with stuff from your childhood. Comics are, and I didn't realize that other people felt this way about them until I started doing these videos and meeting people in the community, and because I literally was like, I mean, when I was a teenager, first of all, I was the girl teenager, and I was to collect comic books where I went to high school would have just been a death knell socially. I didn't have much going on anyway, but I felt so embarrassed by it. You know what I mean? So it's weird, isn't it? Yeah. It is. And so to find, as an adult, come back and find the community and realize that, oh my God, you were going through the same thing in London, and I'm going through the same thing in Michigan.
I kind of didn't read. I mean, I didn't have that much money, but I'd always buy comic books when I could get some. But I used to have loads of UK comic books, like we had like humor ones kind of thing. And but I didn't actually start buying properly until I actually got my first job. And I'd always loved comic books. I always picked them up every now and then when I got some pocket money or birthday money. I'd go and pick up some 2000 AD like UK comic books and that. And my mum said to me, "Oh, there's a comic book shop just opened up down the road." And I was like, "Really?" And I was like, I must go and investigate. And that's when I got my first regular pull list kind of thing. So that was
Yeah, see, to me, I miss the whole comic book when comic book shops came in. You know, in fact, it leads me to my next memory, which is.
Shall we segue straight into that then?
Segue straight into
professional, very professional.
There we go. I know it. This book is Batman. What is it? 252, and you will realize that it is the one after 251. The Joker one. So if I had only gone to the pharmacy and the spinner rack a month earlier, but no. But anyway, so this book represents to me how, because I do remember literally pulling this off the spinner rack. Because I went to a drugstore. Back in America, we had drugstores with the little spinner racks. And that's how I bought my comics. You know, I went every month and pulled them out of the spinner rack. And so this just is all, you know, and I had, this was my friend Stephanie. We were in junior high school. So that would be, you know, middle school. So if you're 12, 13, you know what I mean? It was still okay to be into kid things. And Stephanie and I would go to the pharmacy and, you know, pull off comic books. I think she was an Archie fan, and anything that had Batman on it, I was probably getting it. So
I was going to ask you, did you have a regular ones that you picked up all the time, or did you just go like whatever cover took your fancy?
Whatever took my fancy. I did really like Batman. And I also picked up a lot of some Superman. I remember getting a lot of Justice Leagues, even though the stories their covers were awesome at the time, but the stories, I read them now and I'm like, oh God, you know, I just
I'm trying to collect that run now, actually. Like, probably not all of them, but like from, I don't know, 50 to the end or something like that. And I used to like, I know it's quite cheesy now, but I used to like the fact they'd split up into twos and do every single issue they'd split up into pairs and go and do their part of the story. So the artist would have to draw them all at the same time, or put all the guys. I don't know what the reason was, but there had to be a good reason.
Right, and Superman just being kind of smug, you know. This really represents kind of that period where I wasn't collecting yet, but I was definitely reading and I was picking them up. And the other thing, when you ask, like, what did you pick up regularly? You know, not everything showed up all the time at the drugstore. You know what I mean? So you got what you got when you got it, you know? So it was kind of good for me then that I didn't realize, oh, these numbers mean something. Oh, you know, because the stories rarely, you know, tune in next issue. They weren't doing that in the early Bronze Age. So so that made it easy.
Just to get people like me to keep on buying them, because I was like, whenever it was like continued this issue, I was like, oh man, I really have to read the story. I was willing to know what happened, and I was like a sucker for like, oh, this crossed over into this, and you have to have this thing to tie into it. I always wanted to know the whole story, thinking I was missing out on some important aspect. Wasn't it? As you get older and you sort of start buying them, or when you got the money to buy them, or you realize actually this has got nothing to do with the main story. Really, it's just literally mentions it in one panel. I could have completely done without this comic book.
Exactly.
Well, you don't know that at the time.
I missed the transition from the drugstore to the comic book store, and literally it wasn't until you know, I went to college and I, you know, wasn't doing anything with comic books. I got out of college a little bit, going to a couple cons to pick up some back issues of stuff. But I didn't, when the death of Superman came out, like it was a big hairy deal. And it's like, oh, I should probably go get a copy of that and see what's going on. Yeah. I went to a drugstore because I had no idea.
Where's the comics?
Where are the comics?
It's a drugstore. What are you talking about?
What are you talking about? So I never got a copy until later in life because I just didn't twig to the fact that the distribution had changed, and so had the audience. I think for a lot of the audience went older, you know, while I was away.
I wonder what the cause of that is sometimes, but like I think sometimes maybe the comic producers kind of missed the trick, and they shouldn't have, like, you know, taken it away from the corner shops, because now you don't get any kids walking along with their pocket money and just seeing, oh, comic book, I've seen this on the telly, I'll buy this. you
I
know, or the
know.
parents picking them up for them. Now you've got to go find a comic shop to be able to buy comics. I think they've really kind of, I don't know. I think they kind of like created an industry that's going to die out because they're not going to get any new people into it. That's what worries me.
I think so too, and I think one of the things that I realized as I got back into this, I was looking at some of the other stuff that like DC was putting out in the 80s and 90s, like little digest size stuff that they would sell. They were trying to sell them, I guess, at grocery stores.
Yeah.
And to try and do it. So who knows, chicken or egg, whether, you know,
Yeah. What came
if the
first?
comic books had tried to keep, you know,
Yeah.
a younger, always renewing audience, or they just decide at some point, screw it, we'll stick with, you know, the 16-year-old boys.
Yeah.
and that's
the 50-year-olds are still like 16 in their minds.
I am.
Yeah.
Like, this 60-year-old girl feels like just about same as the 14-year-old one who is like, oh, look, Batman.
Yeah. One of the things on your channel, you would show a lot of romance books. Was you buying any romance books back in when you were younger? Or
No,
a recent
not
phenomenon?
one. It was a recent phenomenon. And I got into it because I think I may have seen some on Tumblr. And I think when I went, I was lucky enough to go to a summer camp when I was a kid. And I do remember somebody had at one point had a few romance books. And so I do remember us kind of reading those out loud, you know, for the fun and giggle factor, you know.
Yeah.
But it wasn't until recent years that they caught my attention because of a couple things. The art on the covers is so arresting. I can't even do I have? Yeah, there it is. This one.
Let me put you full. Yeah, I see them on lots of people's channels, and the art is awesome. But I mean, I'm not into romance. You know, it's not my kind of thing, like Mills and Boons kind of books. But I actually bid on my first romance comic on eBay because I'm trying to collect all my birthday books. So it was a DC one. DC one's cover date is September 1969, but it went too high, and I was just like, no, so I'm not going to bother.
All right. Well,
somewhere down the line,
can help you out on that.
Somewhere down the line, it might come along.
Yeah. Well, and my other interest is so I really do like the art, but I also was interested in them just because I thought they were so awful. You know what I mean?
It's mad. The social things that have changed. It's
so
unbelievable.
It's so cringe-inducing. And at one point a few years ago, there's a woman named Jackie Nadell who had a blog called Sequential Crush, where she talks about Bronze Age romance books from the 70s. And it took me a while to read through her thing and to read the comments and stuff. It's like, oh my God, she takes it seriously. Because I'm like, oh my God, is that the dumbest thing you've ever heard? And but some people take that stuff, you know,
take it seriously.
A little seriously. And so my interest of late, if anyone who has watched my channel knows, and I apologize to you if you tune into my channel, it's like, oh God, there she goes again about feminism. But I am really enjoying
interesting stuff, man. It's all interesting stuff. I love all that kind of it's good to hear people's, you know, thoughts on these kind of comments. But I just read them. I can't put it into words. Just like, this is just so wrong, but it's kind of like it's like a time capsule, isn't it? You know, everything about them old comic books is just time capsules. Like the mores of the time, and you know, the adverts and everything. It's just there's fashion.
I've always said that, like, the comic book. Why I like to get I don't like to get reprints of, like, in omnibuses or trade paperbacks. Really, I will if getting the actual book, even a crappy copy, is too expensive. I'd rather read the actual book so I can hold it, I can smell it, and I want to read all the ads. I want to read the letter to the editor. You know, I want all of that, because the comic book is not just the cover and the story. You know, the comic book experience is the entire book. And it's how you felt holding this thing that wasn't for your parents. It's not for your older siblings. This is for you. This is yours. You know, so you in your clubhouse and your tree house, this is for you. And so I love the time travel part of it. and that's why I'm working on my Superman collection to finish a Silver Age run. I've got 5 or 6 more books that will complete it. And every time I get one of those in, no matter how crappy the condition is, I'm going to rip it out of that bag. I'm going to try to be careful, but I got to read it. I have to smell it. I got to read it. I go through the ads because that's what.
I'm kind of lazy. I don't always read the letters pages, but I always have a little perusal for the letters pages. And I've kind of got like all I've been reading lately is Lois and Jimmy's because they're just so crazy. I know you're more of a Lois reader than a Jimmy reader, but Jimmy's just as much fun for me. There was a good. Every time I see like one of the situations where you always highlight on your channel and talk about, I always think, oh, maybe I should message Sh-bab and say, have you seen this comic book? Blah blah blah. What happens in this one? It's so you got to read it. There was one. There was one the other day when an alien woman comes to, she fancies Jimmy from afar, so she comes. He's going to go off with her to her planet, and then her other 3 husbands turn up. So it turns out Jimmy's going to be husband number 4, and I thought, I bet Sh-bab would have a laugh at that one.
Oh my God, brother husbands, like sister wives, brother husbands.
Yeah. What
number is that? Do a video on that. I want to see. Oh my God, I need it. I gotta have it now. Well, there's something so innocent about those Lois Lane, Jimmy, and Superman books from back then. You know, it was just good, clean fun and silly. This isn't anything heavy, deep, and real. And it was a chuckle, you know, and it's still fun to read now. As opposed to, you know, like, oh my, it was like the romance books. Oh my God, that's so awful. You gotta get a different level of like fun out of them because it's like you just can't believe the situations that have gone on and they was considered like comic books in them days. Like this is considered like a good story. It's just like it's just craziness. Well, yeah, I mean, it's a giggle just for a giggle's sake. You know what I mean? Just funny for funny's sake. And so it's its own little art form. And I think the great thing about comics is that if you find something you like, instead of, you can go back, you can find the secondary market, you can find books that are,
hopefully not too expensive.
Like I just bought a pile of coverless Wonder Woman books when it was the Diana Prince era, when she had left her costume. And to get them, I've
hardly ever bought any Wonder Woman comics. I've got 2 Wonder Woman comics because they're Demon in it, and that's because I like Demon. And I look at some of them on people's channels, and I think the covers look so nice. And I thought, oh man, I wish I had picked a few of them up, or could afford to pick a few up. It's like, no, I can't add more comics to my list. I can't add any more comics to my list. The house is already bursting at the seams.
For the time being, there's always time. There's always time.
Yeah, hopefully.
So a couple more. This is a Superman book.
Yeah.
This is number 262.
I've got quite a few old Superman action as well, because they're quite a lot cheaper to pick up than Batman. I wish I could pick up Batman, but a Superman, and always a good read as well. I like that era of Superman.
Well, again, you have given me the perfect lead-in to why I have it and why it matters. In the Bronze Age comic books, in the back of the book, there are little ads. Like if you want back comics, I guess you could go to a comic store, but not having a driver's license, I couldn't. So you can send away for books. And so I sent 25 cents to get the list, and the list comes back. And then I said, okay, I'm going to, I probably bought this book for 25 cents. And I taped quarters onto pieces of paper. I mean, it was just like such a kid thing to do. But my original order was for Batman books because I wanted this era of Batman because I loved him so much. And sadly, even then, Batman was apparently more collectible. So what came in the mail instead was a pile of Superman 27.
Oh, man.
I know. That was what I thought, too. It's like, criminy.
Because you're a kid, they can get away with it. They said, it's only a kid. What are they going to do?
What do they go? She's not going to do anything.
Tell her parents. And what her parents going to do, just say, oh, never mind, pat her on the head. And
exactly. So, but I was like, well, I guess I'll read them. And turned out I started to really like them. and so I would buy them in batches of 10. So I would send $2.50, you know what I mean, in quarters to these people. So this is one of the books that started me as a collector. You know what I mean? Then by this time I was like, oh, the numbers mean something. You know, I can, because I was buying them off the rack at that time. But I could also go back and buy, you know, the back issues. Yeah. And so it's like, oh, I'm getting it now. This is this is really 73, 74. I would have been, you know, 12, 13 years old is when I really started to collect, you know, not with an eye towards investment, not with an eye towards, but just like, oh no, I want more of that, you know, that run, you know? So, so this is what started that.
Yeah. I was saying before, I've got kind of a question in my head for ages. I keep forgetting it. But before you actually started collecting seriously, and you just go in the shop and looking at the shelves, was there any particular thing that made you, other than Batman, which you know you love, was there any particular thing on the cover that made you have to buy it? Was there anything?
You know, I think nothing specific other than I was really reacting to color. You know what I mean? It's like, that's why these things are so cool, because it's like, oh, well, it's a lot of primary colors. And I can tell you for sure that this Batman one caught my eye, because if you had ghosts and green, all
green
over
spook.
A green spook.
You
know what I mean? Anything that was kind of haunted housey, ghosty kind of thing. My eye was really drawn to it. But to me, it was just the more colorful, the better. And any DC book, you know, I wasn't drawn, you know, to Spider-Man and any of the Marvel books to me then looked just busier and a little more dense than the DC style. So maybe it was just, and because I had started out reading all these DC books, it's like, well, you know, I didn't have that much allowance money. So it's like, I can't buy everything.
So you never collected any Marvel at all back in the day?
Well, no, but again, a perfect lead in to my last memory book here. This came out in 75. And this or 76. When did it come out? She says.
No, I haven't got any treasuries. They were like, I don't even seen this treasury in the flesh, I don't think. Only on video.
Oh, they're worth it. You got to get one at some point. This came out in 1976. So I would have been 15. So I had been reading comics and collecting. And by that time, I had a subscription. I subscribed to Superman and Batman, Detective, and the Justice League. Interestingly enough, most of those books, the Batmans, the Detectives, Justice League, I sold or traded them to build my Superman collection. So, you know, oh my God, there's Werewolf by Lunchtime. Oh, nice to see you, Werewolf. So in any event, this book was such a big hairy dealgram when this came out. It was everywhere. You know, this I did see in grocery stores as well as my pharmacy and all that kind of stuff. But the ads were just incessant in every comic book. And I do remember picking up a few Marvel Spider-Man books as a result of reading this. But again, those went by the wayside because I was building the Superman collection and I was just doing trade-ins with comic book shops by then to say, you know, da-da-da. So, but yeah, this is the first time that I realized that comics were such a huge part of the culture, you know, and which just made me a happier camper anyway. It's like, well, I am kind of and when the Superman movie came out in 78, I just, you know, I felt at home. I was like, yeah, I've been here. I have been here, you know, longer than most of you. So, so yeah,
do you remember
these things are worth it.
What about the Wonder Woman? Did you? Because they say you bought some Wonder Woman recently. Did you read Wonder Woman as a kid?
Not at all. And I don't remember if I think it was probably a how much money do I have situation. Lois Lane for sure. I remember buying a couple, but again, it kind of goes back to that original pile. The original pile had Batman, Superman, the Legion, and Lois Lane. Yeah. So those are my big four. And if there had been a Wonder Woman in it, I might have. But I didn't back in the later 70s when the Linda Carter show was on. I just didn't like it. I just thought her spinning around was just kind of silly.
Maybe you was at the wrong age then, because you was at that teenage age. Like when I saw Batman the second time, and I thought it was rubbish to what I remembered it being. Yeah. But when Wonder Woman came around, I remember watching it. Another one I watched every week because like it was, she was fighting crime. She was a superhero. For some reason, it never got me to buy any of her comics though. I mean, not really. Once or twice, maybe, but I did like it.
Yeah, I did. And reading the Wonder Woman books now, I don't feel bad that I missed any of them because I can count on one hand the ones that I really liked. In fact, they're up there.
Right.
But we've talked about people in the community have talked about before about how Wonder Woman seemed to be just the ugly stepchild for all the creators at DC in the 70s and the 80s. No one seemed to want to work on her. And when they were assigned that book, I don't know, their disinterest kind of showed through in their storytelling and all that kind of stuff.
Every time I read like an old Wonder Woman story, which isn't a great amount of time, it always seems like some supervillain or alien is trying to marry her. I've seen a couple of times I've read the shark wanted to take her back to his underwater kingdom to marry her, and then I saw some aliens in a gorilla book, like superheroes versus super gorillas or something like that, and they changed her into a gorilla woman so they could take them off back to her planet and marry them. I can't remember what the story, how she got. I think she I may be remembering wrong, but she henpecked them until they decided they didn't want to marry her anymore. Something like that. It was something ridiculous like that.
We'll show you.
I'm going to nag you until you decide you don't want to marry me anymore.
Right. Here's your honeydew list. Here, get this done.
I might be remembered it wrong, but it was something silly like that.
Oh, yeah. Hey, Ranger Sly. Hello.
Hey, Ranger Sly.
Unruly Simeon saying Perez changed all that. Yeah, he did. Yeah. And although I am not a huge fan of the George Perez run, I totally can appreciate it intellectually. But as a reader, by the time I was reading it, it was like, oh gosh, this is awfully dense, and the gods and stuff just never really do it for me. So I have some of them, and we'll keep them in the collection. But yeah, you would think I would be all over Wonder Woman, but the truth is I'm not. And my heart belongs to Lois Lane, who I think is the greatest superheroine ever, so.
But do you think that Superman should have married Lois or Lana?
Oh, Lois. I mean, it just, I think.
I feel sorry for Lana.
Yeah. Well,
I've said it a couple of times on my channel, obviously, because I'm a disgusting man. But I was thinking to myself, well, he's super. Can't he have two wives? And I don't know. I know it's frowned upon, but maybe you can tell him it's Kryptonian.
I was just heritage. Exactly. It's like on Krypton. We're allowed. But here's the great thing. Here's why. Because neither of those women would go for it.
No, probably not. Probably not.
So, but yeah, I don't know how he could possibly, marry someone that isn't Lois.
Yeah. I got one of the Lois ones recently where it's Super Lois and Super Lana on the cover, and they're like fighting each other and
exactly.
They look so good in them costumes. They're really cool. And I remember that, like, reading sometimes an Elseworld story. There was a Elseworld story gets turned into a hunchback kind of thing. And in it, Lois thinks he's died, and she just meets this ugly hunchback on the beach. And they've got a little kid. I can't remember, her name was Lisa or some L name, obviously. And she was like a little plucky little superhero girl. And I was like, I'd like to hear more of her stories. But it was obviously just a one-off thing. But I thought she looked so cute, like in a little Superman costume. And I thought, I wish she was an ongoing character. But that's comic books for you.
Well, yeah, and that's the other thing too. I mean, the characters that just came and went in the Bronze Age. Nubia, the Wonder Woman Nubia character is my just the one I have a big bugaboo about, because man, oh man, that character was interesting, and just disappeared. Although I will say it's over and I can't get up. But I do have a trade paperback of a young adult novel called Nubia. And it's about a young Black girl in an inner city who is dealing with, the Black Lives Matter movement and income inequality and, all the hot button issues. I've only gotten a few pages in, but it's wonderful, And so in my mind, if comic books are going to go, if they're going to get younger audiences via these young adult novels, go for it. The days of this stuff
maybe over.
It's dead. That's fine. That's fine. Because they're awful expensive now. I bought the Lois Lane run last year, and $4 a book.
I'm 2 away from getting that run, but I don't buy modern books off the shelf. I wait, literally, you wait 4 months, 6 months, and you can get them for a quarter of the price. I've been picking them up for £1 each, kind of thing.
Good for you.
So, but two more to get. That's the only thing that you have to wait until you've got them all for. I've got two more to get from my Jimmy run, and 2 more to get from my Lois run of the modern run of them.
I heard the Jimmy one was really good, and
I think Ranger Sly said the Jimmy one was really funny. He said it was really really good fun. He wasn't such a fan of the Lois one, but you kind of like, I've watched a couple of your talks about it. I'm not sure how did you find it in the end?
I liked it. I liked it a lot. I wish it were the storytelling were a little clearer, but I thought the art was fantastic. I thought the fact that the story really is in the hands of female characters from beginning to end is great. And the Lois that was in that book is the Lois I kind of know and love. My friend Rob, I loaned the trade paperback to him, and I asked him what he thought of it. And he said he doesn't really care for Lois as a mother. And it's like, I haven't read any of the recent Lois books, to know her as a parent, so it just doesn't. But so I thought it was an interesting take. But I liked it. I liked it a lot, and thought the intention behind it was really good. So
I think the other thing you were saying, that she spent most of the time like in the office, and she sent the question out to do all the legwork.
Right.
I was saying, it would have been better if she had the phone. I thought that would have made it, because it would have been a tie into the old comic as well.
Well, this is
helping her out.
This is management in 21st century. I delegate. I'm the idea person.
It actually kind of makes sense. It kind of makes sense in a way, because back in the old, she'd get in trouble she'd always get herself in trouble. She ended up getting caught by mobsters or falling off a skyscraper or whatever, and so it kind of makes sense that she's like sensible. I'll send out someone who can kick butt to go and do these dangerous tasks.
Yeah, exactly. It's like it's not too stupid to realize that there are people with additional abilities in your world.
Yeah.
Okay.
Use them. Makes more sense. Yeah, makes more sense. What about, say, other than that modern book? Because obviously it's a character you love. So you bought it. Have you bought any other modern? That Nubia one you were talking about. What's your take, other than they're being very expensive? What's your take on moderns?
I don't know enough about them. I really don't.
No.
I decided when I got back into collecting in a big way, probably about 10 years ago. And because the Wi-Fi hotspot was working for eBay at the time, and she was working in the collectibles group with comic book dealers. I didn't get a deal on anything, nothing ever.
That's terrible.
I know. But it gave me an excuse to get back into the hobby in a big way. And I've had a ball ever since. And I just, so I decided to spend my bucks on building the collection I wanted when I was 14, rather than trying to catch up, into what's happening now. I just don't, they say that that a typical comic collector will have a 20-year span of 10 years on either side of when you started reading comics. So, and that really is my collection. So if I started reading in 1970, I stopped reading in 1980, and I've collected back through the late 50s. You know what I mean?
Right.
So that's like, I I'm not interested in getting into the golden age stuff. But it really is that 20-year span. And the fact that there are so many books and so many characters that are new to me, the money I could spend,
Yeah, I know. Probably, the thing is, you spend up more money and you've actually got the time to read. So it's like, I keep thinking, I want to buy some more. I I look at my read pile. I think, I don't need to buy any more. Stop looking on eBay. Stop seeing things on people's videos and salivating like, lovely book. I want that lovely book. And like, it's not quite there. It's not far from me hearing voices and like the comic book talking to me and saying, you want me? Why don't you buy me?
Read me now.
Exactly.
Now, do you watch any of the CW TV shows? Do you guys get those over there? The Flash and the Supergirl and all that stuff.
Not as much as I'd like to, because there's so many channels now. I don't even know what channel it's going to be on. I can't keep track of TV anymore. Like when they're on a streaming service that I've got, I will watch them. But I watched the Batwoman one, which I thought was quite good. But I kind of a lot of people seem to me that they like to watch these shows just so they can put them down, and I just like, no, just take, just watch them and enjoy them. Don't concentrate on the things that don't quite meet your expectations of the character, and concentrate on the bits that you do like from it. So I tend to like all of them. Like Black Lightning, I've watched most of that one. I was kind of annoyed with the Black Lightning because they got in part of the crossover, the Crisis of Interverse crossover, and I only saw the Black Lightning part, so I've no idea what happened in the Supergirl part, the Flash part, the Arrow part. You know what I mean? So it's like, I finally started watching Arrow. Like, it was into its 4th season by the time I started the first. So I think that in the main, I like what that network does with its comic book shows. I really enjoy The Flash, although the current season has me just kind of shaking my head, and it's like, wow, I might have run out of gas on this one. But the new Superman and Lois show, oh my gosh, I really like it. Oh, it's fantastic. And in fact, after we wrap this chat up, the Wi-Fi hotspot, I've gotten her into it. So that is an accomplishment, I'm telling you right now. But we DVR it because it aired last night here in the United States, so we didn't get a chance to watch it. So it's like, oh yeah, it was Superman and Lois. So to me, it's just fantastic that the characters are still around, and there's enough of the Silver and Bronze Age mythology that can hold me, and I'll try and figure out the rest of it. But a lot of people I see people kind of, there's too much superhero stuff now, and the people I think, don't shut up. What do you mean there's too much superheroes? There's never enough superheroes. Just watch what you want to watch of it, and let everyone else enjoy whatever they can, whatever they want to watch of it.
Exactly.
Bemoaning the fact there's too much. Because I remember the days when we had a TV series for comic book readers once every 5 years. Like we had Batman for a couple of seasons.
Exactly.
Wonder Woman for a little while. Incredible Hulk. But now we're getting proper good quality and so much choice. Even characters I don't know, I can't remember what they were called now. I was thinking of the Rescuers, but it wasn't the Rescuers. It was some Marvel team. The Runaways. I quite enjoyed that one. And the Inhumans, I thought was pretty good as well.
Well, in the movies,
so many.
I get it that you go to the movie theater now and it's a superhero movie. I don't mind it, but I can appreciate that if you don't. But literally, you went for like Superman, the original Christopher Reeve movie. You know what I mean? It's like that came out, and then there were the others. And how long between that and Batman? With Michael Keaton. It wasn't always thus.
No.
And I did watch the Snyder cut of the Justice League on HBO this week, and it took me 2 days. It's 4 hours. Oh my
I'll watch it
God.
eventually. I will watch it eventually. When it comes onto a channel that I can actually view without having to pay for, I will watch it. But it's like
Yeah,
I've still not seen the Wonder Woman movie yet because it's not come on a channel that I can access. So it's like I can't. You can do like various like dodgy sites that might give you like spyware and stuff, but I can't bother with that. I'll wait till it comes onto a channel that I'm already paying for, and then I'll watch it.
Well, the second Wonder Woman movie, don't bother.
Yeah, I have heard, but
The first one's okay.
yeah. I just turn my brain off and just watch it. I won't thinking too deeply about it.
Yes. Well, that was how I approached Justice League, the 4-hour Justice League. It's like, I don't care I don't remember the first one. So like, what did he change and what's new? It's like, it's all new to me, you know what I mean? And it was entertaining. It was long, but I really, there isn't a single person who's played Superman in a TV show or a movie that I haven't liked. And I think the guy who plays him on the TV show, Tyler Hoechlin or whatever his name is fantastic. And Henry Cavill in the movie, I think he's fantastic. So, as you can tell from my favorite book, Superman is,
Yeah, he's right.
I'm a fan. I'm a fan.
Cool. I don't know. One thing I was saying before we best wrap it up because I've got to go and cook me dinner. Modern comic books, like the art's good, but to me, it doesn't say comic book movies or comic books rather. It's like oh, this looks like a good art, but it doesn't tell you anything about what's going to happen inside the comic book. It's completely unrelated to the contents of the comic. It seems just that it's a nice picture, and I just prefer like you said about the 10 years either way. When I got my first comics about 79, something like that. So I like my 80s is one of my favorite eras.
Yep.
And like I started buying old ones as well because they're just kind of like time capsules, funky time capsules with crazy stuff going down.
Well, it is true. I had this conversation with someone that like, who cares about the covers right now? It's just posing. They're just characters posing. Yeah. I don't, this actually will tell you what the story is about.
Yeah.
Do you want to read that one?
That was what was good. When I was asking that question earlier on, what always got me with comic books when I was a kid, any kind of peril for the hero, any kind of peril that they were in, and I was like, how are they going to get out of that? How's the Flash going to do that thing that he's got to do before Iris discovers him? I'm like, I've got to buy this to find out. That was what always got me.
Well, and in the old Batman ones in the detective books, sometimes, because he used to be a detective as opposed to a munitions expert that he is in the movies now, right? Yeah. But a lot of times the story would unfold, and at some point the little editor's note would say, have you figured out what the Batman knows? So it's like, it was more of Batman used to be a detective, and it was more of a mysteries thing. And the Batman in the movies now just blows things up. So, which good on him.
I actually had that in a Jimmy Olsen comic I was reading last night. It was like, read, have you figured out who saved Jimmy Olsen? It was Boris Karloff. Boris Karloff saved him from quicksand.
Oh. I got somebody in the chat mentioned buying comics by lot, and I clearly need to get to give Jimmy Olsen, some of those old Jimmy Olsens, another chance. So maybe I'll wander over to the eBay and see if I can find a lot of good old fashioned Jimmy Olsens. So
I bought some off for someone on Facebook that was selling. Now I spent too much money really, but I got quite a big nice stack of Lois. It's kind of like buyer's regret, but it's kind of like I do like them though. I do like them. I'm happy I've got them. I kind of wish I had them and not had to spend all that money on them. But there you go.
Listen, the Lois Lane books it's the gift that keeps on giving, and I read them all the time. I'll just grab a handful out of the attic and, have a great afternoon just visiting 1969 and 70 with Lois and the gang. It's a lot of fun. And
the covers, it's like, since I bought them, like they said, it cost me quite a bit of money. I'm pretty sure, but never mind. Let's not go there. But every time I sort of have them on a stack, or I'll look through them, and I have to, once I can't just look at one, I have to go through and look at them all again. And I was like looking at them, just like it's such I feel like reverence, like holding them, like because it just looks such brilliant, nice art, clean and clear, and interesting, funny situations, and like I just know they're old comic books, like older than me kind of thing, and I'm like holding them, and I just feel like, and there's nothing better as well when you've been after a run and you go for that box again, like the old Dial H for Hero. I love Dial H for Hero. And when I went through my box again, after it took me a while to collect them all, and I went from my box and I was looking through it. Oh, I've got the whole run. I suddenly remembered to myself, I've got the whole run now. It took me ages to get it, and I was like, just felt like kind of proud and happy, and like, wow, yeah. And I was like, give me a little lift. Yeah, I've got those. I got that run. They belong to me. These are my comics. I can read them whenever I like and gaze at them lovingly when I wish, kind of thing.
Exactly. Well, when I was a kid, these back issues started coming in. Yeah, I was buying them. They would come in the mail, and the covers were just that much different in art than the books that were on the shelf at the time. So I could tell the difference, and I literally used to spread them all out on my bedroom floor, like one by one by one. And I would stand up on my bed and I would just look at this mass of color and action and, just comic books. And now I do the same thing, except I put them on my wall. Like that. And in fact, the books that pile of books that came to me when I was a kid, I got high grade copies of all of them, like 7s or 8s and that kind of stuff. And I sent them off to CGC because I want them on my wall, because I decided that I like the way the CGC slabs present. And so I want to have a really nice, beautifully framed version of this book. I love the art. It means so much to me. This book just means so much personally to me. And so hell yeah. It's hard to explain to someone who wasn't into comics the emotional attachment and the joy that these things bring. So too bad, more for us. So
well, I think we should head off now. We've done nearly an hour. I've got dinner that I had to stop cooking because I had to come and rush and do this. So I'll get back to it.
Grey Man, I want to thank you so much for inviting me. I've had a blast.
No worries.
And I love your channel, and I love all the Lois and Jimmy and Superman books and what you have to say about them. I think that's hysterical. And so thank you so much. And
no worries. Thanks for coming on.
Let's do it again sometime.
Yeah, cool.
And thanks everybody in the chat. It was good to see you.
See you later, everyone. Cheers for coming on. Bye, everyone.